Hello and welcome back to South Park Explained on No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about our favorite animated show, South Park. This time we're taking a look at an episode from 2015 about the notorious SJW havens called safe spaces. Recent events kinda reminded me of this one, considering all the British people protesting Trump lately, calling him a big bad bully. Sounds like London might be turning into a giant safe space itself over there, so I thought it would be a good time to revisit this classic South Park episode. There's also a certain pop singer referenced here too, Demi Lovato, who ends up needing a safe space here. And she's also become pretty relevant this month since she's kind of been breaking down and doing lots of embarrassing stuff publicly, like shutting down her website. We'll get to all that and more soon, but first, a quick announcement. South Park announced this year's season will be starting up on September 26th, which is only about 2 months away from now, so yay, that's good news. Can't wait. But for now, let's go ahead and review this classic episode. Let's take a look at Season 19, Episode 5, titled Safe Space. Things start off with Cartman crying in the principal's office. He recently posted a picture of himself shirtless on social media. Cartman actually thought he was looking buff, completely oblivious to how overweight he actually is. Naturally, the internet turned to make fun of him, but when Mr. Mackey goes to make the obvious suggestion that he probably shouldn't be posting shirtless pics online, well, PC Principal immediately interrupts with a rant about body shaming.
Hey, you got a problem, Mackey? No, PC Principal, because body shaming is serious, and I'm not gonna allow that shit in my school! Nobody should have to feel that kind of shame.
So I think you can see where this is going already. PC Principal obviously represents the SJW side of the world that was really starting to take off in 2015 when this episode aired. Anti-body shaming was also just one angle the PC left used to try and control people and what they say online. Sometimes called fat acceptance, some SJWs actually pushed for fat people to be openly accepted into their groups, much like how minorities and gays and trans people were brought in under their wings for social protection. So too was the fat acceptance movement. It's pretty crazy and out there, but that's the shitty left-wing world we're living in now. Now, that's not to say fat people should be shamed or shunned or kicked out of groups, but this whole fat acceptance thing, it's okay to be obese, it's kind of retarded. Next, PC Principal brings Kyle into the office. He wants Kyle to help him create a safe space for Eric by filtering through all his comments online, only showing him the good and positive ones. And here's where we get to the title of this episode, and this review video for that matter. A safe space is a bullshit idea, kind of like what PC Principal is setting up here. It's an area where people can be protected from bad or negative comments from outsiders. You might have seen something like this online on certain web pages and message boards or even Facebook groups. But mainly from what I remember, this was something a number of college universities were trying to set up during this time too, and still some to this day. The US education system is of course controlled by leftists after all, and creating safe spaces was the next logical step in their SJW journey. It's a stupid idea frankly, and it never works. All you're doing is coddling weak-willed people who can't handle bad comments or criticism, which will naturally come up in public or online eventually. Really, people who think they need safe spaces, they really need to learn to toughen up and grow thicker skins. That or they just need to give up on public life and social media altogether, which is really what Cartman should be doing. But instead, PC Principal is suggesting this harebrained scheme of having someone filter through his comments. Kyle turns this job down and opts to go to detention instead, as does Wendy. But eventually Butters has to do it, and boy, is he in for a world of hurt reading all those internet comments. Next, let's turn to the B story of this episode, because Cartman isn't the only one in South Park getting shamed today. Randy Marsh has been running into a bit of it himself at South Park's new Whole Foods market. Every time Randy goes to check out there's an uppity cashier who keeps asking him to donate to charity. You've probably seen this at a store or two yourself in the real world. You go to check out and they ask if you want to give $1 to hungry kids or something. And sometimes they even try hard and guilt trip you into it. And well, the cashier Randy runs into, he does this on a whole other level.
Okay, and would you like to give $1 to hungry kids today? No, I said no before. Oh, that's right. Okay, there's a picture of a little hungry boy. Will you just press on his belly?
Ow!
Your change is right there. Just pull the sandwich out of the little girl's mouth.
Next, we turn to a classic move on South Park, having a hilarious guest speaker at school. This time, it's 90s action star Steven Seagal, who's gotten old and put on a few pounds over the years. He's hosting an anti-fat shaming assembly at school, but as soon as he gets on stage, he starts into a crying fit, just like how Cartman was at the beginning of the episode. Seagal did the same thing too. He posted a shirtless pic online where he thought he was looking buff, but then instead of getting stoked on him like he thought they would, of course, everyone starts calling him names. This speech Seagal is giving eventually turns into him pulling a random but funny dance move like this. Feeling bad for Seagal, PC Principal then asks Butters to now sift through Seagal's comments too, like what he's doing for Eric. Butters is slowly wearing down though. There's a lot of darkness on the internet to sift through, to say the least. Back at the grocery store, Randy finally gives in and decides to give $1 to charity at the cashier. He doesn't quite avoid the charity shaming though. The cashier just sarcastically mocks him for giving just $1.
Can you just press the $1 box? Attention shoppers, somebody just joined the $1 club, giving one whole dollar to help feed hungry children. Here's your t-shirt.
Next, we see Butters has another famous new client, singer Demi Lovato. Cartman is none too pleased to be sharing his social media filter though, so he tells Butters to stop. He says Demi is hot anyway, which is true, but it's also true she was kind of getting body shamed as well. I really don't like using that term, but you know what I mean. Demi Lovato is hot and all, but she's also thick and doesn't have the most traditional slim build. She's kind of built like a tree trunk. Regardless, I think this is another timely reference here too, which I'd like to dig into a bit. You see, Demi Lovato has recently been going through some problems publicly this summer. This month, Demi has been kind of breaking down, firing all of her staff and supposedly relapsing to drugs. She closed down her website and may be in need of a safe space once again. We'll see how it all turns out for Lovato, but right now, it's not looking too good, which only goes to show that South Park again is more relevant than ever. And maybe Demi's body image issues and these drug problems are related too. She obviously has some issues and I really do hope things work out for her. She seems like a sweet girl, all things considered. Back to Randy, who now has made a whole campaign to try and stop charity shaming at grocery stores. Here we see a commercial he made for it, which is a parody of the style of other real commercials asking you to donate to poor African children.
This is a place where hope is scarce. These people are hungry. Little Jojo here might not eat today. But does that mean it's okay for cashiers to ask us for money while we're in the checkout line? It isn't right. And it isn't fair.
Next, back to Butters. PC Principal is putting even more people on his workload. Now he wants Butters to sift through the accounts of a bunch of plus-size models and Vin Diesel. Shit is really getting out of hand here, to say the least. And these absurd plus-size models added too, we could see South Park is trying to further this point and take it to the next level. These people who want safe spaces are usually putting themselves out there and asking for it a lot of the time. I mean, no one should get harassed or bullied ideally, but if you put pics online of fat ladies in underwear, well, you better expect some rude comments too. But the PC social justice warrior worldview doesn't accept that. They don't accept reality. They rather live in this fantasy world. That's why the left opts for these ridiculous safe spaces. This leads to one of the highlights of the episode, a musical number about and dedicated to safe spaces. Check this out.
Bulletproof windows, troll safe doors, nothing but kindness in here.
You might call me a pussy, but I won't hear you in my safe space. My safe space.
Here's where I'm reminded about more bad things about safe spaces. They used to be called hug boxes previously. It was like a Tumblr thing. You could also call it an echo chamber because all these safe space people hear is echoes. Things they say to themselves back and forth over and over. And without dissenting opinions or even some criticism, people can't really learn and adapt and do better. They just get worse and more weird. And these safe spaces are what's made the leftists and SJWs so unbearable today too. They've been in safe spaces so long, they don't know what it's like in the real world anymore. Speaking of which, here's the next part of this South Park song. Here comes my favorite part, where the character Reality joins in.
What? Who is that?
You cannot stop me from getting inside. I am cold and I am hard, and my name is Reality.
Now you can really see these safe space people don't want anything to do with reality, the character and the term. They don't care for the real world. You see, many weak-willed SJW people like this are perfectly happy living in their fake fantasy safe space world over the real one. And since the musical number, Randy has joined the safe space brigade too. We even see him bring some of his safe space buddies to the grocery store to try and help with his charity shaming problem. The cashier there is pretty impenetrable though, as he quickly insults Vin Diesel and Steven Seagal and they run away crying.
And this little piggy just bought $53 in beer and frozen pizzas. Would you like to make a $1 donation to hungry kids today?
And this is a good place to see how weak these kinds of safe space people can become. They can't even take the simplest of insults without running off crying. And this is a warning South Park is trying to give to safe space advocates. In the end, you're not really helping the victims. You're just making them weaker by coddling them and not showing them how the real world works. Randy amps things up by starting a charity of his own. Hoping this will stop the grocery cashier, Randy is bewildered to find that they have a new charity at the grocery store. They're actually asking for donations to send hamsters to college.
Not a problem, sir. If you could just press the no button and tell the little hamster he's not going to college. Just look him right in the eye, sir, and say, not today, buddy.
In the end, we wind up at Randy's charity dinner, a place where he rightly said before, it's a much more appropriate place to ask for donations than the grocery store checkout aisle. Randy's really not that wrong about his point here. It's just the safe space angle that's completely absurd. Randy's charity dinner is interrupted by reality though, and if you hadn't noticed, reality has been turned into an actual character in this episode. This masked man represents reality here, and all its harsh truths and everything, and when reality ends up giving his final speech, it really brings the story of this episode together nicely.
You're sad that people are mean? Well, I'm sorry, the world isn't one big liberal arts college campus. We eat too much, we take our spoiled lives for granted, feel a little bad about it sometimes. No, you want to put all your shit up on the internet and have every single person say, hooray for you, you. You're all pricks.
The liberal arts colleges even get to mention here. They were the place I mentioned before where this whole safe space idea came from in the first place. I also think what reality is getting at here is that shame is okay. It can actually be good to be shamed sometimes. In fact, it keeps you honest and humble and level-headed, especially if you deserve it. Randy's charity campaign is called Shameless here. Like people should be without shame or something, but that's all wrong too. Really, shame is a useful tool if needed and done properly. Fat kids, for example, may need a bit of shame as their motivation to get off their ass and start working out. That, or you could just learn to deal with the shame a little better. The ending of this episode isn't quite as rational or as hopeful though. When Randy and the other safe space people find out Butters is almost dying from filtering their messages, well, instead of doing the right thing in the end, Randy's commercial with African kids comes back. The new plan is to pay $1 a day so poor African kids can filter your comments. So they can filter the comments of everyone in America. That way, like the commercial slogan says, America can be completely shameless. The final shot shows a pretty horrific sight of the town publicly hanging the reality character. A symbolic gesture that South Park and America are completely killing off reality and choosing to live in their filtered, diluted, fake safe space instead. All in all, another great episode with another great message here. Safe spaces are bullshit and reality should be championed above all else. Regardless of the sad ending though, I still think reality was one of the best new characters South Park has come up with in a while. I also really like the safe space song and the musical bit in there too. What do you guys think? Are safe spaces as dumb as South Park makes them out to be? Have you ever been charity shamed at a store's checkout line? And what did you think about the reality character and his ultimate tragic fate? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. See y'all next time.